Alright, so it's July 28th at midnight 2020. I have a lot that I've been thinking about, but very little to say. I'm here in DC at what many call the Pencil. Most locals will refer to it as the Washington Monument. I used to get mildly offended when people would say the Pencil. I knew this was hypocritical because that's exactly what came to mind every time I would see it. It was a pencil, a giant pencil. You can't see the pencil up here because the angles are so sharp that you can't even see them. But trust me, it's pointy at the top, mildly pointy. It's not perfect either. There's blemishes, but such is life, man. This thing has been through a lot. I don't know the whole history. I'm not a historian, but pretty much this part of the monument was built as a memorial, and it was later repurposed. That's why there's a difference in the bricks that go up the rest of the way. I think it had something to do with Robert E. Lee, but I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not a historian. But anyway, I'm here, and I don't know, like something about DC just makes me feel happy. You know what I mean? Like, it makes me believe in that whole thing. I think it has to feel somewhat like what Disneyland feels like. You know, you grow up, you get past the whole Disney magic, Disney World, but something about being there. You know that that's a dude making minimum wage. He's hot and sweaty in that Mickey Mouse uniform, but like some part of you, like you feel that magic, that Disney magic, that wonder. You know what I mean? That's what I feel when I come to DC. Like when I'm in front of places like this. I know American Dream and rights and liberties and all that kind of stuff it's only partially real, and it's not the same for everybody, and we don't have a perfect system here, but just being here, a part of me, it makes me believe. Like I'm like if you look over that way, that's the Capitol way, way, way down there. You look around and you see stuff and it makes you believe. But it made me think of something right now. I'm like, why must you speak when you have nothing to say? I think that's a meme I saw one time somewhere. And I don't know. That's exactly how I feel. I have a lot of stuff that I'm thinking about, but not a lot to say, not a lot that I really want to share, or at least feel that I can share, man. I'm tired. Like I don't want to make people happy. I don't want to make people disappointed. And just as not even as an American, like I just don't care. And it's not I don't care because of some level of like superiority or anything like that, because it's definitely not the case. It's a apathetic feeling of whatever. Like I don't even care. Like nobody's like, not that nobody's doing that. It's just it's an attitude. I know that's why I came here, because I know that out there somewhere there's people that believe in this country, that believe in what we can be. You know what I mean? The sad thing is that they might be only 6 or 7 years old. George Carlin said they call it the American dream because you got to be asleep to believe it. And I always, I loved hearing this stuff because it was funny. Because, it's one of those things. It's one of the comedy's such a weird thing, because it's like when he would say that stuff, I mean, it's partially true, but it's also it's shocking because it's like you don't really believe that, do you? Or do you? It's like it's whatever you make it. It's as real. That's why a joke's a joke, you know. And people take jokes seriously. It's bad when people take jokes seriously because it's a joke, right? And when you got to look at a joke, as something that's not serious, you know. And that's what it is, man. But I think our country's becoming a joke. And a joke is only good if it has some level of seriousness to it. And I'm trying to think of, like, it doesn't sound right, so I'm trying to think of a good example, but like there has to be certain parameters for a joke to work. It either has to be so outlandish and ridiculous that and so unrealistic that there's humor found in that, or it's so opposite of what's true. There's so many ways to frame it, and I'm no expert, you know what I mean? I'm just a normal person who likes trying to make people laugh, but this is one of those times where I don't know. There's a whole lot of stuff that's not funny going on. And I'm not just talking, that freaking thing sticks out in my mind so much. Like, if I owned this thing, I don't care how big this thing is, but his bars need work. But anyway, that little chip would bug me so much. And just a little chip, but nobody can self-announce them anyway. Excessive and compulsive disorder. But you know, like if you have your car or something, you just bought it and then you notice a scratch. That scratch is all you can think about. First world problems, I guess. But it's good. It's good to have first world problems. You know what I mean? And the first world definitely has problems. It definitely has stuff that it can work on. And that's why it's a balance between how lucky we have it, right? Blessed, or whatever other positive euphemism that you have for the sense of being in a pleasant state, either being by luck, chance, good karma, you know, etc. But how great it is, right? Even with all its flaws and all its imperfections, that we exist in a country, because we could be somewhere else, and most of us came from somewhere else. You know what I mean? And just being here is awesome. And then you're here, right? And then you're like, well, there's still stuff that can be improved. So you gotta also strive for forward, but like, you know, don't forget how great it is. And that's one of those things that you gotta make sure that you keep that in mind. Now I'm just talking about myself right now. I don't know about you. You might have it all together. You might be Jocko Willink or freaking what's his name? What's my buddy's name? Come on, I got a guy, David Goggins, or you know, tons of other people hang out with Joe. All these super motivated people. And let's go, and we're every day they're motivated and something like that. Guys, some days it's just like you know what I mean? But there's truth to it. It depends on your state of mind. But with the coronavirus right now and all the uncertainty, I'm not worried personally. I'm not worried about myself. And I just want us to get somewhere. The coronavirus is one thing, but the real sickness here, man, is us, like how we treat each other. This being American thing. It's not just a place. I think it should be a choice. You know what I mean? I don't think this automatic citizenship thing should be thrust upon people. I think there's a whole lot of people that don't want to be from here, and they're from here. You know, being born here, I don't want to be in the United States. Well, you're here. You know what I mean? And some people want to complain about it. Some people want to make it better. But wherever you go, everywhere needs work. You know what I mean? So, what the heck was I even? That's why I told you, man. Like I didn't really have that much to say. But I don't know. I mean, did I have any humor? Was there anything here that I could put on the leftovers that I thought about? I mean, I thought about some stuff, but it's not really funny. I was thinking about we need to make a better system for our police interactions for both sides to make both sides safer. I was thinking about not sexualizing the police, right? Because it's both male and female on there, and transgender, and every other mix of creed. But it's a uniform, and I would like to suggest that all uniformed police officers wear booty shorts or some type of Daisy Duke. But see, even with the Daisy Duke stuff, you're getting in trouble because anything that has anything to do with Dukes of Hazzard or anything remotely, to do with the rebel flag or Southern Comfort, something like that, is kind of under attack now. Even here, like right now in the nation's capital, we got a football team that we don't even know what we're going to call them. They're just called the Washington football team. And it's the same thing like the Washington Monument right here. Like I used to get mad, like I said, like when people would call it the pencil. I'm like, it's not the pencil, it's the Washington Monument. How hard is that? And here we are with a football team that's just called the football team. It's like, it's called the Washington Monument. They could have named this anything else. How original, is it to call it the Washington Monument? The monument that looks like a pencil? No, the Washington. There's a lot of monuments in Washington. But this is the one specifically called the Washington Monument. And now we got a football team currently called the Washington football team. Man. And I was talking with like a coworker about that, man. And he's a New York guy. And he's like, Frank, I'm worried. I'm like, worried about what? He's like, I'm worried about the Yankees. He's like, with all the changing of the name, because the Yankees fought in the Civil War too. That's what the North was called, the Yankees. I'm like, man, I don't think that they're going after the winners. I think they're only going after losers. If any, like, that's what I'm saying, that balance of good and bad and everything, because one of the balances that you have with that is that you're teaching these people who freaking get all these participation trophies. No, when you lose, you don't get a reward. You don't get a statue, okay? When you lose. Statues are for winners. You lost, so you don't get a statue. In a little sense, but in a bigger sense, there's some deep stuff. I'm going to tell you something that I don't know, it's near and dear to my heart. I live out here, you know what I'm saying? This is home to me, so I take great pride in where I live. And there's a place called Arlington Cemetery. A lot of soldiers are buried there. It's land that was, well, I think it might even have the same owner, the previous owner of this, because this monument here, this actually used to be, I'm pretty sure it was Robert E. Lee. And so was Arlington Cemetery. That used to be his whole house. Dude was balling, I guess. But my thing is, I have a real, I don't know, maybe I just don't know enough about him, but like I have a semi-fondness of Robert E. Lee. From what I know about him, he sounds like a pretty hard guy. Aside from the, fighting for the South. But from my knowledge of him, he's a guy who didn't even want to fight for the South. It was pretty much, from my understanding, the Union came to him first and asked him to fight for the North. You know what I mean? And he couldn't do that, right? He felt it was against what he stood for. Not from the political standpoint, but just from this, like, I'm a Virginian, and I can't turn my back on my people. It doesn't look good. We're not going to. If you believe in something, right? That's one thing. That belief in something can push people to do great things. It also can push people to do horrendous things. But sometimes you have to separate all of that, and you have to look and say, regardless if this is right or wrong, I have to choose to stand with people, right? And that's not just a Robert E. Lee dilemma. That's a dilemma of even right now. You can look at law enforcement. They talk about a thin blue line, right? And like, well, officers look out for each other, and even if they're doing the wrong thing, they protect each other. And the police unions, and that's why people want to defund the police right now. All this talk of these things. If someone has their imperfections, right? And these are serious imperfections, because these imperfections come with the loss of someone's life. Or tons of other stuff, man. There's so much terrible news that involves police officers right now, and citizens, and minor crimes, and just we got it. Like, there's so much stuff, man. That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to talk, but what I was trying to say about that is, when you choose a side, you're gonna have a winner. You're gonna have a loser. Right, and that's like when it's something where it's like a mutually assured destruction type thing, or when people, like, when you have an opposition that's not going to quit, and both sides are not going to quit, and they really mean it, you're going to have a winner, you're going to have a loser, or you're going to have a stalemate. Right, that's the only options you have. Like that whole mutual destruction thing, that a mutually assured destruction, that is what they would call, quote unquote, stalemate. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to attack you because it'll destroy everything, and you're not going to attack me because it'll destroy everything. So we can both be mutually assured that, like, nothing is going to come of this. Like, But beyond all that, I could talk about that stuff for so long. One thing I don't want us to forget in this Disneyland, right, that I know isn't real. I know the whole Disney magic, Disneyland, Disney World, whatever. It's not real. It's just made up. It's fantasy, but just because it's fantasy doesn't take away from its beauty. And it may not be completely real, but in those moments it's real. And that's why I believe in America. I believe in the American dream. And when I see this, I'm seeing, I don't even think the people see it, but like, I see Americans killing other Americans. So we had this, like, it's such a beautiful place. It can be such a beautiful place. There's a lot of dirt and filth. And I'm not talking about just like the pollution. I'm talking about like how we treat each other. You know what I mean? Like, we're all Americans. And what we think is dirty and what we think is filthy, I think that needs to change. I think we need to be concerned as much about our landfills and our rivers and our lakes and our streams as much as we care about each other. I could have said something corny, but like, lakes and rivers and streams, something and dreams, but I didn't have that. I mean, I'm not here to make rhyme quotes that sound awesome. But we got to do better, man. Like, and it's such a silly thing to say. It's such a simple thing to say. It's not easy, but it's not hard. Just love it, like these are your countrymen. These are your. Just let me go back on football for one more time, because I could, like I said, I could go on this. With football, right? They talk about the sports. It's becoming an obsolete sport. It's becoming a sport that's too dangerous because the risk versus the reward, concussions, all those sorts of things. After that Will Smith movie was a wrap, And so with that, hey, yeah, mostly like I don't know. It's a tradition that most people do on Thanksgiving. They have a football game. Like people go outside and throw the football. I don't know why. I don't know why on Thanksgiving of all days we're gonna pretend to be football stars. Anyway, we do. People do that. And you know what? After you go home and you eat Thanksgiving dinner with everybody. Which even that, it's like everything's bad. Even this Thanksgiving dinner, when you hear the history of Native Americans here and stuff, it's just like too much. It's so much. That's what I'm saying. Like there's so much stuff that we just kind of swept under the rug. You know what I mean? And I think everybody's hurt somebody. But we can do better. I believe in this dream. But anyway, what I was saying about the football thing is, they go out there, they come home, they can eat. Nobody broke their bones. So like you know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain respect. He's like, hey, like we're playing football right now, but you're also my nephew or my cousin or my neighbor or something like that. Like we're not going to get too rough. You know what I mean? Football could be the same thing. You can have that like without people trying to kill each other on the field. You know what I mean? Like the hits are big. Like come on, man. Like they barely had any football equipment 100 years ago when it came to football. Not even 100 years ago. Like 50 years ago, they barely had any like equipment. You know what I mean? Compared to what they have now. So just how we interact with people, how we care about people. It's not just like this whole thing where we have strangers. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I don't know. It's stupid. Like I'm thinking about that, right? But at the same time, I have to be realistic that there's still bad people out here. Somewhere, there's a young woman who's on a street corner, who has a drug addiction, who's selling her body. I know this because I watch Soft White Underbelly, and he has interviews on there with them. But and I've probably seen more than I would like to have seen, but men and women, and everything else in between. So exhausted having to say that. I'm just gonna say everybody. I'm tired of like having to make that extra thing. Look, people, human beings. All right, human beings that are having a terrible go at life. You know what I mean? And regardless of the circumstance or regardless of why they're having trouble. But anyway, that's the show. So like I'm saying, someone out there is going through that. And there's also someone out there profiting on that. You know, be it monetarily or sexually, whatever, there's someone out there doing that. So it's not all good, and every American isn't a great person, but every American isn't an evil person either. You know what I mean? And it's just I wish we could get to a place where we could catch us, like we, like I don't know. I was thought about other stuff. Maybe increasing high school to 30. Maybe that would fix the problem. You know what I mean? Like it's basically what it is now for people. You know what I mean? Or 35, 40. Like just gut it up to whatever age. Make it a lifelong thing. Why is the first 12 years of education mandatory, and then after that it's like, you can just, that's the most crucial time. Maybe that's more important. Maybe this 20s time, 20s and 30s and 40s, maybe this is the time where people should be not just exploring themselves, but like maybe they should have a little bit more structure to help them explore a little bit better. Maybe it would keep a lot of people off the street. Maybe, if you can bump the cigarette age up from 18 to 21 with legislation, let's do that with education as well. Let's make education from 5 or 6 to freaking 35 or 6. It's got to be better than this, because like I'm not the same person I was at 18. You know what I mean? And I think most people aren't. I don't think most high school seniors are the same person 4 years later when they're graduating from college. You know, and if you ask a college senior versus a high school senior, just 4 years, but those additional 4 years. So like, you know, there's so many different things, dude. And that's another thing too, just being humble enough to look at and say, I can't control this whole world. I don't want to be president. President is the least that's the last thing on my mind that I would ever want to do. Like, you know, because there's that whole level of controlling. There's things I'd like to see happen, but it's like, that's the biggest thing. I can't control people. I like you, me, everybody else could come up with great ideas. You know what I mean? But if people aren't going to follow them, it doesn't matter. You know, and there's got to be better standards. And people got to lead by example. That's why I wish, like, with the whole police thing, they could be more common sense. Yes, you can arrest this person. Yes, they are committing a crime. Now, what should the outcome be? Should they go to jail? Well, if you commit a crime, you should go to jail. Okay, all right, I'm down with that one. But I'm not cool with, if you commit a crime, you should go to jail, and if it's too hard to get you to jail, you die. There has to be some level of and you have to think about your own life too. You know what I mean? As the officer, you got to think about getting home to your family. And someone say, well, he signed up for that. He or she signed up for that. Yeah, they did. But it doesn't mean they deserve to die on the job. They're here protecting us. They're here protecting us and themselves, because they're fellow Americans like everyone else. And so I just wish that we could do that. You know what I mean? I don't know. I have to think this over some more. I'm just going to upload this thing. It's just a rant. Oh. Was there anything else? I mean, there was one other thing I was thinking. It was about when an officer pulls over a citizen in a car. This goes back to that common sense thing I was saying. Ask questions that really matter. Come up with the whole, how's it going? Where are you coming from? What are you doing? Come on, if you want to talk, do small talk, let's actually do some small talks that matters. Like, you know, like sports, or, you know, latest news or something like that. Give me something I can actually use. Stock investment, something like that, if you're going to make small talk. Or everybody's got their phones now, or most people got their phones. You pull over a car, you can get on the loudspeaker like, you know, give me your Instagram handle, whatever, your Twitter handle, boom, boom. And so even before you get out the car and talk to the person, you have nowhere to go. The corona thing should have taught a lot of people that there's nowhere to real go. Like, and if the corona didn't teach us that, there's nothing that's so important that has to be done right now, and this is all relative. Like, you know, there's no you have to be, you can stop, you can take time. And if the corona doesn't teach you that, the other countries that aren't letting us in will teach you that. Like with the European Union, stuff like that. Oh, but we need to come to, no. America, you stay over there until you figure your stuff out. We don't want any of your American cooties messing up our thing over here. So you stay over there. But I wanted to go to the south of France this summer. I wanted to go to, well, no, you're not. Well, things change. And it wasn't that mandatory. You didn't have to do it. It was non-essential. I remember I learned that in school with essential versus discretionary purchases. For instance, like, you know, food, electricity, water, all that stuff's considered essential. But shoes, or maybe a particular brand of shoe, becomes non-essential or discretionary. And that's the tricky thing that a lot of people are figuring that out. Are shoes essential? Yes. Are Yeezys? It depends on who you are. That's when it starts getting tricky. But anyway, I'm getting off topic, which I don't even really have. I'm just over here ranting. But I think I've done enough for now. But pretty much, oh yeah, the cop, when they pull someone over, like, take time. There's no rush. Let's slow down. Take this. Like, it gets escalated really quick. Let's take time. And then I watched that Rashad, I can't think of his last name, Brooks, I believe. I don't want to mess up his name because the gentleman passed. But Rashad Brooks, I watched it. I watched the body cam footage today. It's 40-some minutes long. 40-some minute interaction that culminated in his death. And I watched like 20 minutes of it. And I fast forwarded to the last 2 minutes. And he was still talking to them. He was still talking to them then, and he was explaining where he came from, what he was doing, and, his, I guess, interaction with his baby mama or something like that, or sister. And I just thought, I'm like, he's talking right now, and in less than 2 minutes, he's going to be dead. And it was like, you wouldn't even believe that would happen to that person in that length of time, how quick a situation can unravel. And it was an officer versus, it was an officer interaction with a black man. It was also an officer interaction with a fellow American. It was two Americans. It's like at this great place of opportunity. It was people with families and loved ones. It's just distressing, man. So I just wish we could take more time. So I wish, if the cops were, hey man, just like yell out the door. If you're gonna small talk, like talk to me. Cause they were talking to him in that video before. Hey, have you been drinking? Or you just tired? 40 minutes of that stuff. Dude, let's get if you want 40 minutes to know whether I'm a threat or you're in danger, put on your little speaker intercom thing and be like, give me your Twitter handle, and check out what I post. If you don't like my post, I'm not going to say you got the right to shoot me, but maybe the taser is appropriate. I definitely will be the first to say that I've done some taser-worthy tweets and Instagram posts. I don't even know if this YouTube video is worthy of a taser. It might be, but, definitely not being shot. So I just wish that we could get to a place, man, where we love each other. Racism, I'm not even going to tackle racism. Racism's too big and too small. It's so stupid. Some things are so stupid and so small that they become big things. And racism is definitely one. I think that we like, there's so much stuff we got. We have the tools. We have blind people. We have people that can't see. They're perfect for these decisions. You know what I mean? Like that's who you want. You want someone who's not going to be biased or have the influence of sight. The influence of sight is a very dangerous thing. People talk about, people being handicapped and stuff like that, whether you're blind or deaf or some other kind of physical. They think a loss of a sense is debilitating, but the more I grow and the more I see, I think sometimes the senses themselves can be debilitating. And I think the term too sensitive, overly sensitive, is a real thing more than ever. And it doesn't mean that it has to be an ailment or pain, like, oh, you're too sensitive, like someone's feelings emotionally. It can be with sight and hearing. Too much, you see too much. If you're pulling someone over and they're black, they got dreadlocks, it could just be a guy going home. Or it could be like some movie you saw where he has, 8 kilos of drugs and a submachine gun and something like that. Or it could be like a guy going home. You know what I mean? Or the same thing with a white guy. Or, like I know that all white people can't dance, but I know that some can. I know that all black people don't play basketball, but some can, or sports or whatever. I don't even know what kind of reference I'm making, but I'm just saying. This is another part too that's so important, but not. It's more than black and white. I just wish it was. We either need to have an Asian president or Native American president. Just please, we need to hurry up and move forward with this, or a Latino, Hispanic president. That's the thing. There's too many names. I'm confused when I talk to someone who's Spanish. I don't know if are you Spanish? No, I'm not Spanish. I'm Hispanic. When you talk to okay, you're Hispanic. I'm not Hispanic. I'm Latino. I'm confused. There's so many different things, but I'm willing to learn. I could go on this topic for a lot. You know what I mean? Just being American. I think being an American is not just an entitled thing. I think being an American is how you treat people. All right? And we are a nation where a lot of our fellow Americans are locked up in jail. And we're a nation where a lot of people who aren't Americans are being thrown out. And they're also being imprisoned while being thrown out, which I think is, it's like overdoing it. Like, you're locking people up and you're throwing them away. Come on, man. It's just as bad as locking them up and throwing away the key, which is also happening. So it's just a whole big mess, and it's not funny. But we need to keep moving forward. Now, I'm not even going to get on the Black Lives Matter thing, because I really don't think it should even exist. If you use that Brown Lives Matter or something like that, just, if you don't want to use All Lives Matter, okay, fine, but at least, come on, you will admit that Brown Lives Matter, right? We're definitely in this together, because, that's just like, so, because it would be so much more powerful. Like, it would be more powerful, and not so much of a racial divide if you encompassed more people. You know what I mean? Because I think everybody's a shade of brown, and I think even the whitest person, I believe, is a shade of brown, unless you're way up there in the Nordic and like that's about it. But even Donald Trump is a shade of orange, a little bit, but like I don't know. He's gotten better with his tanning thing. People were making a whole lot of jokes. He was probably in a rush. He had spray on tan back then. He's not doing that anymore. It's definitely, he's found the right mixture or whatever he's doing, or he's gotten better ones or something like that. And that UV light stuff is important, and that's probably why he wasn't wearing a mask, because the UV rays from the tanning bed should have some effect on the coronavirus itself. So that's probably why he wasn't upset. And people made fun of him because he was talking about putting lights in the body. I get his delivery wasn't good, but he was trying to say something that made sense. He knew a little bit about the UV ray light, but whatever. Come on, it was close enough. Come on, man. Does that say we could work together? Like, you don't have to. Being the president doesn't mean you have to be the smartest person. Doesn't mean you have to be the nicest person. It just means that you're in charge, right, of other people, and they're in charge of making things work. That's the way, like, me having a boss in my job like that, like, or you having a boss wherever you are, you don't let it get you down if you have a bad boss, because it's like, no, my boss treats me like crap. Well, your boss treats you like crap. Well, then let him know about it. I can't tell, because he's the boss. He's the boss of you. But you're also the boss of you. So his job is to manage you. Without you, he has no one to manage. So that's the thing. Like, when you're a manager, yeah, or a supervisor, you supervise. Supervision. The superior vision. You're like you oversee, right? So just oversee. So, but they're overseeing you, so just do the best you can. Don't listen to, if they don't want you there that bad, trust me, they'll get rid of you. Like, no, I don't know why people stress so much about work. Like, are they paying you? Yes? Okay, then don't worry about what they say. But it looks bad. I'm really trying to move ahead in the company and blah, blah, whatever. Who knows? If you wanted that bad, you already would have had it. Just do the best you can. Don't worry about this upset. Anyway, I'm way off topic, but y'all have a good one. I hope America continues.